Just how prepared are local law enforcement agencies to ensure the safety of their citizens from another terror attack? Joining us now again this hour, Steve Rogers. He's a retired lieutenant detective, formerly with the Nutley, New Jersey Police Department. That really is the principal question that I think Americans are everywhere saying to themselves, wait a minute, could Orlando be my neighborhood, my community? And the answer probably is, yeah, it could.
Yes, it could. And just to mention, the Orlando Police Department and what they did down there was outstanding. They were able to get 30 hostages out. They were able to minimize loss as much as the losses were. So they are well prepared after they react to a situation. Tactically, strategically, they're very well prepared. But what we need to do is to look at the intelligence and information gathering aspect of all of these scenarios. I believe that the federal government could do a lot more in providing local law enforcement with the training they need in order to gather and collect and even to some degree analyze intelligence that may help prevent these attacks.
You know, what I'm trying to figure out is in 2013 and 2014, the FBI, it came to their attention that this guy was making claims that he was connected to Hezbollah and Al-Qaeda and terrorist group and the Boston bombers. And he was making all kinds of other inflammatory terrorist-related claims. And apparently this only came to the attention of the FBI, which didn't share it with local law enforcement. How come it went to the FBI but not to the Orlando police?
Well, it should have after the investigation was closed, because, you know, when you have an ongoing investigation, the greatest concern that any law enforcement agency would have is compromising that investigation. But the FBI agent that was on TV consistently said investigation was closed, and at that point, just for informational purposes, that information should have went to local law enforcement.
And then, of course, after all of this had occurred, he'd been investigated and somehow miraculously cleared by the FBI because they couldn't verify any of the claims. He buys guns in the course of the last week to 10 days, including, you know, a high-powered assault rifle. I mean, doesn't that get flagged in some way?
Well, it should have. Look, there is a breakdown in the system that obviously has now been discovered that although the FBI interviews you for possible terrorist activity, you are still able to go out and purchase guns and do these things that you shouldn't be doing. So what has to change is that, look, it shouldn't take an arrest. You know, you get fingerprinted and you get a mugshot, et cetera, when you're arrested. But now, because we're dealing with terrorism, the game has to change now. And if you're a suspected terrorist and you're on a watch list, perhaps you should be fingerprinted. And that in of itself would give a gun dealer some sort of flag.
Steve, can we move to what's happening now? We have investigators, FBI, the FBI evidence response team. They're on the scene there at the nightclub at this hour. What are they looking for? We talked about the semi-automatic rifle that was used by the suspect.
Well, what they're looking for, and by the way, they're doing an excellent job. There's no question in my mind that they've prevented a lot of attacks. But what they're looking for now, they're looking at shell casings. They're going to see if there was one or more weapons used, different types of weapons. They're still unknown if there was someone else there. Probably not at this point. But they're going to be gathering as much evidence as they could. If there's video footage, if there are phones that are on the ground with video on those phones, every piece of information that they need in order to conclude this case might be at that scene.
All right, Steve Rogers joining us. Don't go far because we will have you back in the next hour as well. So lots of questions.